Hello everyone, it's so good to be here yet again. This is a bit of a weird read because I actually didn't watch a single movie, neither in cinemas or at home. I know what is happening. Am I well? Should we be worried? No, I'm perfectly fine. It was a bit of a busy week at work, but also I want to do a bit of a special video because as I mentioned in my last video, I just came back from vacation. I was in Barcelona and honestly guys, I had the time of my life. And even though this is a channel where I generally speak about art, I don't necessarily want to typecast myself as only one thing because the title of The Bottomless Pit totally applies to me in many, many ways. This YouTube channel is just one of the many, many things and interests that I have in life. But no matter, this is something that I'm personally interested in talking about. But also, I was just so immersed in art, architecture, and a shit ton of great music. On that front, I had boy oh boy the greatest luck in the world that I totally did not plan on. So without further ado, let's get into it because it was quite a wonderful adventure. So first off, the weather was fantastic, literally 10 out of 10 weather, like mid 20s the whole time, not a cloud inside. There was a little bit of rain at the end, but you know, it was hot, it was sunny, so that was a total blessing. In any case, first thing I did obviously was check into the hotel, which is in the Grazie district, which is super calm, nice, and not too far away from all the attractions I had to do. Honestly, I didn't really use the metro or bus at all. I basically just walked everywhere. But in any case, the main event I had that day was at Park Guell, which was a lovely little adventure in nature, which my soul sorely needed. It was beautiful. There was a lot of people. Once again, the weather was fantastic. The vistas were phenomenal. And being in nature really was just soothing to the soul. I was so surprised seeing the parrots, which on a personal level really made me happy. It was something that I wasn't expecting, but I guess I should have seen the climate in Spain, generally speaking. But in any case, the park itself was wonderful. If ever you are going to Barcelona, I highly recommend you go check it out, not only for the beautiful nature, but also some of the intricate architecture that the master architect Gaudi himself constructed over here. So that was a general idea for my first day in Barcelona. I won't go into all the minute details of everything I did on this trip because that would just be too exhaustive. But for the second day, I kind of label it as my Gaudi day. I went to visit the three main houses that he built, as well as his magnum opus at the end, which he never got to see finished, of course. More on that later. But I started with Casa Vicens, which was literally 5 minutes walking away from where I was staying at the hotel. And honestly, it was probably my favorite of the three houses I saw. It has such a unique vibe and it just sticks out so strongly from everything else in that district. It was a relatively short visit. I'd say like an hour, 2 hours tops if you really take your time, but totally worth it. Next, I went to see Casa Mia, also known as La Pedrera, if I recall correctly. And that as well was quite marvelous. Just the facade itself looks so alien and unlike anything I've ever seen before. It almost makes you think of a beehive. Yeah, Gaudi has a very unique take on this organic style of architecture. The middle courtyard, once you enter the building itself, is quite fascinating. I love the opening to the sky, and even like the main door itself is quite a vibe. The colors, and once again, the organic nature is just a sight to behold. I won't go through all the details of what I saw in Casa Mia, but the rooftop as well was also a very interesting vibe. And third, but most certainly not least, this was Casa Batllo, which also the facade of this building is just so unique. I passed by these in particular several times throughout my wanderings in Barcelona, and the site never gets old. The interior as well features some very curious organic geometry, and the fireplace itself was such a massive clue to me. I saw it and I saw the mushroom, was like, oh, eureka, of course, this dude probably just torpedoed his brain into another dimension on mushrooms, and you know, God bless him, because the creations he made are wondrous to behold. Once again, these three houses are relatively short visits, but most certainly well worth the trip. And there was also a really cool into the mind of Gaudi experience. We were in this dark room and the visual spectacle was pretty fucking cool, let me tell you. I won't go into too much detail on that. You guys should experience it for yourselves. It was wild in the best way possible. And last but most certainly not least, for day 2, La Sagrada Familia, which is frankly the reason why I wanted to come to Barcelona, because I've heard so much about La Sagrada Familia, and it is just such a remarkable architectural landmark. And me being a level designer, you know, that's just something that greatly inspires me. And even though all the hype and all the research that I was at least on some basic level aware of, nothing could prepare me for the grandiosity and the scale and the just minute attention and detail of this thing. It is just frankly flooring, flabbergasting, just awe-inspiring. Just from the outside alone, but then when you enter on the inside, I have no word. I also got to take a trip to the one of the towers, which is called the Tower of Passion, if I recall correctly. That was also an interesting experience, but the part that stuck out to me wasn't so much the bird's eye vista we have from the top of the tower, though that is quite impressive. It was more the descent back down, which is literally done on foot, and the final spiral staircase was kind of terrifying. There is a railing on the outside, but not on the inside. And you just see a hole that just goes deep and deep, and you don't see the end of it. Yeah, reaching the top and then climbing down and seeing just how far down I'm going and seeing this bottomless pit reminds me of, you know what? I'm kind of afraid of heights. Not the best moment to remind yourself of that, but still totally worth it. I recommend it to you, even if you suffer from vertigo like I do. I made it through. I live to tell the tale. So will you, probably, I hope. So yeah, day 2 was a pretty massive jam-packed day, but not every day was just loaded with activities back to back. I also left a bit of room to just wander about. I did a lot of soul searching, just listening to music or just like listening to people, the auditory ambience of the city of Barcelona. And honestly, just walking around Barcelona is just such an easy city to get around. People are so friendly. And by the time I reached the 3rd day, I find that landmarks are so strong that like I didn't even need Google Maps anymore at that point, which is always a lot of fun when you feel like, oh, okay, like I'm starting to get a handle of the city. So as I mentioned, I did quite a lot of wandering and soul searching, specifically through the Gothic district, which is a part of Barcelona that I haven't yet explored as much thus far in the trip. And it was a lovely experience. Definitely a different vibe, but once again, just so colorful, so dense, so detailed, and so varied. If ever you are in Barcelona, just go there, get lost in the streets, and just explore. There's so many wonderful surprises to be found here. And indeed, for myself personally, in terms of surprise and memories and little trophies that I picked up along the way, which I totally did not plan on. Knowing me, of course, I walked into a few vinyl shops and I did not leave empty-handed. The first record shop I walked in was called Naima Records, and I found some of my most treasured albums to date and some really, really rare finds. In fact, I was browsing on the left side and I saw this girl on the right. She picked up this album that I'm holding in my hand here, and I was freaking out. I was just like, go, hurry up, make up your choice, take it or leave it, or else I'm taking it. But I was there keeping my composure, but in the end she let it go and I instantly swooped in to pick up Frank Ocean's Endless. I can't believe I picked up this album. I think here in Canada, like I would be paying like $400 if not more. At least that's what I saw on Discogs. I picked this up for 40 euros. Yeah, this is a wonderful, wonderful album. Definitely very ambient, sparse, and a little bit low key. For my first listen, because I didn't even know this thing existed after listening to Blonde. I'm a bit of a late bloomer on this album actually, but after a few repeated listens, letting just the seed be planted and just having it bloom over time, it's actually a really wonderful, delicate, and super experimental, and once again ambient, but frankly beautiful album. I would probably give this no lower than an 8.5, but I'm probably ranging more towards a 9 out of 10. Wonderful, wonderful record, and super surprised when I saw it. Like, holy shit, like how much did it cost? And it really wasn't that expensive. Yeah, a total steal. And as I'm talking about this now, I realize that I haven't done a collection update video in a long, long time. I don't think a lot of people are super interested on that kind of stuff in this channel, but you know what? I enjoy talking about it, so I'm taking along the ride with me. So in this record shop, this wasn't the only vinyl I picked up. In fact, after the second vinyl, I told myself like, all right, Mike, you need to get the fuck out of here before you take way too many vinyls, because you know I came in with just a backpack and a relatively small carry-on luggage, so I don't have all that much room to take. I kind of ended up busting my expectations on that, but we'll get to that in a moment. But the second album I picked up is also a wonderful and treasured album, and also an album that I'm kind of a late bloomer on, but now is one of my most treasured albums. This would be Vespertine from Bjork. Once again, another rare find, and just it is such a beautiful, serene, and incredibly layered ambient. It's such a ethereal and powerful record. Bjork really is a vibe, isn't she? This is at lowest a 9. I'm probably ranging to like a 9.5 out of 10, maybe even up given more time, because once again, as I mentioned, I'm a bit of a late bloomer on Vespertine, and just Bjork in general. This is frankly the only album that I'm very well familiar with Bjork. This is just a massive portal that has opened in my life. Finding this album on my travels when I wasn't even looking for it is exactly the kind of surprise I needed. So that was one record shop, but of course it wasn't going to end there. I got out of this one. You know what? I'm not going to take anything anymore. But then, lo and behold, I find myself in a record shop called Revolver Records. And once again, I picked up another two of my all-time favorite albums. This one in particular, once again, this was an album that I thought I would, well, maybe not never find, but it's such a classic and well-known album, and it is a bit rare to find, especially, at least from my hometown. So it's just something that I wasn't even expecting to find on my radar. But I remember having this moment like, what if it's there? And lo and behold, Loveless from My Bloody Valentine was there. Of course, maybe it's a little like a cliche today to have this as one of your all-time favorite albums, but you know what? In my defense, all those years ago when I first listened to this album, I had no idea what I was getting into, and it just washed over me and just consumed my soul, and I was just drowning in the shoegaze of it all. This is really a super formative record for me, one that has captured my heart, as it has so many other people. It's just such a dense and layered and such a unique album. Even all these years later, it came out in 1991, and there's still almost nothing like it. If I had to score this thing, this is once again another lowest a 9 out of 10, probably reaching to a 9.5 out of 10. Once again, this is one of the most important and formative and influential albums to me personally. Still can't believe I fucking found these albums. But the second album I picked up in this record shop, and the fourth in my stack thus far from the trip, another personal favorite of mine, The Smiths, The Queen is Dead. Probably their best album overall, though there's so much I like about each and every one of their albums. But this is probably the one that not only has been with me for the longest, but there's some songs that resonate very strongly, and every time I come back to them throughout the years, I still find new layers to them, and it really is a most treasured album that I will certainly continue listening to throughout my life. So once again, another easy 9 out of 10. I know it feels like I'm giving on 9 out of 10s like candy on Halloween over here, but these truly are remarkable records. But okay, that's enough for the vinyls for one day. As I mentioned, I was just wandering about, getting to know the city, especially the Gothic district, but I did visit some museums nonetheless. My first visit was at the Picasso Museum. Not a very big museum, but still, Picasso is such an influential artist to me personally. I think one of the quotes from him, at least I think it's from him, you never know nowadays, one of the quotes that really resonates with me and something that has kind of always been my North Star, not only as a game developer, but just as an artist, generally speaking, is learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And with that being said, it is fascinating to see, especially in this museum, seeing how his trajectory through his life, seeing these super detailed paintings that he was doing, and then seeing the transition as he was growing older and just letting loose his creativity, and this idea of going through a lifetime to learn how to draw like a child again is some truly inspiring stuff. Indeed, he is quite a towering artistic figure that continues to inspire even to this day. And by the way, I do daily drawings. That's one of the many other things I also do in my life. I'm no Pablo Picasso or Leonardo da Vinci. Frankly, I don't care about that. I often just do really quick rapid fire sketches, and I continue to do that during my Barcelona trip. In fact, I do daily sketches. I don't care what happens. If there's a fucking asteroid strike coming, you still do your daily drawing. What would that drawing look like that day? If ever we get there, well, you guys probably won't see the drawing, but anyways, as usual, I digress. After the Picasso Museum, during my wanderings, I found myself at a beach for a brief moment. I'm not too much of a beach babe. I mean, look how white I am. But nonetheless, it was a nice little respite through the journey. And then I found myself in Ciutadella Park, which was a lovely, lovely experience. There's also really nice Arc de Triomphe just outside the park. But even within the park, there are wonderful sights, cool statues, some cool pieces of architecture, as well as this moment over there. Yeah, definitely a nice trip that I highly recommend. And I did end my day after all the wandering about at Cathedral Barcelona, which is also a super impressive piece of architecture. The scale and detail is just gorgeous. There's even a cool VR, like a documentary experience that I got to check out in the cathedral itself, which I didn't realize would be happening, but hey, you know, cool, why not? So this was a little event that happened before reaching the rooftop. So yeah, every day was just loaded to the brim, one after another, regardless if I just had a bunch of events stacked one after another, or just taking time to just explore on my own. Day 4 also had a similar vibe where it was a mix of exploration, also some activities. Actually, day 4 started with me finding myself in a bookshop. I actually explored a few bookshops because I'm a giant bookworm and I'm just curious to see, like, okay, well, like, what are bookshops like in Barcelona? There are definitely some beautiful ones in the city, but for the most part, they are written in Spanish or Catalunya maybe even, which regrettably my Spanish isn't nearly as advanced as I wish it would be. But I did make myself a nice little present with these two little books over here. First, Poor Things by Alistair Gray. The movie itself, I'm sure many of you heard about. That was a powerful, terrifying, confusing, mesmerizing, complicated movie, controversial, not everyone's cup of tea, that's for sure. I definitely fuck with it, even as disturbing and wild as it may be. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to find this book, and I'm very curious to see what the differences between the book and the movie are. I heard that the endings at the very least are quite different, so that should be interesting. And the second book I picked up at the same bookstore was a collection of short stories from Ernest Hemingway. I've read a bit of Ernest Hemingway. I've read The Old Man and the Sea and For Whom the Bell Tolls, but I was curious to check out his some of his short stories, and they're quite interesting. A little on the mundane side, but I don't mean that disparagingly. There's this simplicity, authenticity, and still this poetic nature about it all. I've been slowly nibbling on this. It's not a very big book, but just a little bit day by day, just inspiring myself with a bit of old school literature. But moving on to some of the activities I checked out that day. The first on the list was the MACBA, which stands for the Museum of Contemporary Art of Barcelona. Personally, I'm not as much into contemporary art as some folks are. Not knocking it, of course. I think there's quite a bit of beautiful, experimental, expressive work to be found. And indeed, there are a few really interesting pieces found in this museum. So still well worth checking out. And as always, inspiration can strike from anywhere. I just love to consume art of any shape, size, form, style. You never know where inspiration may strike from. I don't close any doors. So it is an interesting little museum. It's not very long. It wasn't very expensive from what I recall. So it's still totally worth checking out. And also in this museum, I picked up this George Orwell book called Homage to Catalunya, which I didn't realize he had such a intimate connection to Barcelona and Catalunya. I mean, I didn't read through this yet, but George Orwell is definitely a author that's made quite a mark on me. Not only through 1984 and Animal Farm, but also some of his non-fiction works. Not all of them that I've read. So far, I've only read Road to Wigan Pier, which was a remarkable read, let's put it this way. So I have a feeling this could be interesting too. And coincidentally, after leaving the MACBA, I noticed on Google Maps that there was a park called George Orwell. So I thought, oh, okay, I gotta go check this out. But frankly, it wasn't much of a park. I didn't even take any pictures. There's only maybe 2 or 3 trees, and it was kind of ghetto and trash, and a bunch of hobos and whatnot, which in a way is ironically appropriate given some of his dystopian writing. But yeah, that was not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but that wasn't it. No matter, as usual, I digress. I think this video might feature a lot of that, but I still hope you're enjoying yourselves. Some really interesting events are coming up, but in any case, for the rest of the day, I did have an event planned later that day, but I was at that point just wandering about. I went to revisit Plaça de Catalunya, which is literally the first thing I saw when I got to Barcelona after leaving the airport, but I was kind of, tired, haggard, sweaty, and just over encumbered. So I came here refreshed and with a bit less luggage to go just take my time and take a look at the environment, which features quite a lot of remarkable landmarks. And I just love how central it is to the city. It's just so easy, oh, I know where I'm going because I'm going in the direction of Plaça Catalunya. You can just easily reorient yourself. As I mentioned earlier, at one point I didn't even need Google Maps because the city just has such strong and remarkable landmarks and just avenues of navigation. So as I was wandering about there, I of course explored La Rambla district and also saw that really epic food court that all my friends and family have been talking about, telling me that I had to go check out. I wish I spent more time there. It's a super dense, crowded, and exciting and just visually tantalizing space. I definitely recommend it to pick up a lunch on the go or whatnot, which is exactly what I did. But no matter, as I was wandering about this area, I also kind of accidentally found myself in front of Palau Guell, which I directly made the connection to Gaudi's works in Park Güell, of course. So I thought, oh, right, I heard talk about this place. I didn't actually have it on my itinerary, but you know what? I'm standing right in front of you. How much the tickets cost? Not dirt cheap, so you know what, fuck it, let's go. And it was totally worth the experience. Not very long, as most of these little houses or museums are in Barcelona. They're not necessarily giant sprawling places like the Louvre, for example, but still totally worth checking out. It is a vibe and has some wonderfully unique architecture. But then for the main attraction that I had planned out that day, it was quite a trip to get there. I guess I could have taken a bus or metro, but I was in mode, you know what, I'm just going to walk everywhere, just explore, see what the city life is like. I do enjoy doing that as long as I don't get robbed, which isn't something that I'm necessarily expecting to happen, but it has happened to me in the past. That might be another video. Let me know if you're interested in that. No matter, after a long walk in the heat, I finally found myself at Museu Nacional de Catalunya. If memory serves me well, that's what it's called. A bit of a mouthful, but just the building itself is like, whoa, this is super cool. And I didn't actually realize just how impressive was the view from that place and these giant stairs leading up to the museum. I actually took a bit of a side path that led me to here, but you know what? I'm not complaining. The variety of experiences I got getting there and leaving there totally was awesome. But there it is. I arrived at the museum. I first explored this medieval section of the museum, which is honestly super dark, but inspiring, thought-provoking. You know, art at its best. It's a vibe, let me just put it that way. And then the next section I explored was the more gothic style of art. That was probably my favorite part of the museum, definitely my cup of tea as far as art history and just art style, generally speaking, goes. Yeah, just wow, one painting, statue after another, just totally mesmerized by the experience. There were other sections in the museum, but honestly, by that time, with all the jet lag, with all the walking and all the sun, my batteries were just totally spent. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna take it easy tonight, go back to the hotel, get something to eat, take it easy and recuperate for the next day. And now let me tell you, as I was leaving the museum, I was super impressed by all that, but as I had a bit of downtime, I decided to message a few of my friends in Montreal, some of my vinyl buddies, if you will, because I was super excited by the vinyls I got. Still couldn't believe that I got that lucky with that music. Music is a huge part of my life, so it's just totally colored my experience. And lo and behold, one of my friend replies to me like, yeah dude, great finds, number one, but number two, Barcelona is an amazing city for music. You should check out if there are any gigs happening right now. And as I was reading the message, I thought like, god damn, you know, why didn't I think of that before? And literally 10-15 minutes later after reading that message, I'm walking the streets, I'm always getting back to the hotel, and I see this poster of Primavera Sound 2024. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's a music festival. Let's see the lineup. And the lineup just was like, holy shit, that's fucking stacked. When is it happening? Literally tomorrow. So I was like, okay, I guess this is happening. And indeed, I got to the hotel, instantly bought the tickets, and I was like, okay, I'm going to a music festival the next day. Day 5 was probably the most legendary day of the entire trip. Not that there weren't major highlights in the rest of the trip, as you can tell. Just if the trip would have ended at day 4, it would have already been a wonderful life experience, which I would have recommended to everyone to at least get a taste of it, at least once in their life. But day 5, I planned a Montserrat monastery trip. I didn't realize it took a bit of like a VIP experience thing. But in any case, so we had our tour guide, Brian, who is just the coolest fucking guy ever. Super sweet, great sense of humor, educational as well, but also like not too overbearing, just giving us the time to just, you know, go at our own pace as well. So just, you know, like 10 out of 10 to this guy. So the day started really early. We got a ride, which is roughly 2 hours to get to the mountains. And even like before you get to the monastery, just the mountain range itself is just so impressive. But then when we got to the monastery, the vista, oh my God, folks, it is to die for. Absolutely breathtaking. I'm still processing even to this day just how magnificent of a view that was. But moving on, because the clock is ticking, we are mortal beings, time is finite. We took a trip to the monastery. That place as well, just in terms of the architecture and the grandiosity of it, is quite overwhelming. The main source of attraction in this place is to see the Black Madonna, which was also, once again, very awe-inspiring to be in its presence, and also having the view on the whole cathedral itself. It's quite a moment. And also really like this little moment. Apparently it's not always open, this little I don't even know what to call it. I want to use the word cloister, but that might not be the correct term. But in any case, this little room here with all these stained glass windows, it was quite lovely. After that, I had some free time before we had to leave the monastery. I ended up doing a quick run through of the museum over there. There are some wonderful paintings and sculptures in there. There's also some Dali right at the end of the museum, which was like, okay, cool, that's awesome. But then, which was probably my favorite part of the whole monastery trip, was my little hiking trip that I took to get to this vista point, which just to walk through the nature on its own was lovely beyond words. But then when I got to this vista point where there's this cross, you could see it from a distance as you were getting there. If I thought the view was breathtaking before, as we first got off the bus, it has nothing to do with what I saw then. OM fucking G, guys. I literally had the time of my life. So That was amazing. I also had a degustation of some of the alcohol that the monks were making, apparently. At least that's what I was told. It was strong, but it had a cool flavor. But then I rejoined my little VIP crew, and we took off to meet the bus driver at this other location. And then we were brought to this local winery in the region called Abadal Winery. And that was a really cool experience. And I didn't like fully internalize as I was getting tickets, like, oh, okay, Montserrat Monastery, winery, then fuck it. I just want to go to the monastery. But this is a really cool experience, and I do recommend it for anyone else if ever you do have the choice. It was a really nice bonus of being able to visit the winery, seeing the old part of the winery, getting a bit of a history lesson on the region and the winery lifestyle and a bit of the history of the business, and also seeing like the current day status of where they are, and also getting to taste several of their wines and having lunch served in as well with that. And honestly, I'm kind of blown away by the price of this VIP experience. I think I paid like 120 euros for the bus ride to the monastery itself, the trip to the winery, as well as the wine tasting and the food included with the little museum tour, and then back to Barcelona for 120 euros. That seems like a steal. So yeah, super cool surprise. But then back to Barcelona City, and well, I kind of foreshadowed earlier, but Primavera Sound 2024, here I go. And my God, I got so goddamn lucky. I literally saw like some of my favorite bands and musical acts working today. Literally got there just as they were starting.
Money on my J paying off the CEO, smoking on that gateway, run around the block when I was like she gave my thing away. About to have a baby with a nigga, that's what they say.
Freddie Gibbs and Madlib playing Pinata. It was the 10th anniversary of this legendary rap album. Easily one of the best rap albums of the entire 2010s decade. Is anyone even going to argue that? So that was a lot of fun. The sound quality was crisp. They were having a lot of fun. It seemed like Freddie Gibbs and Madlib were a little stoned at times. I don't mean that in a bad way. It was kind of funny. So that was the first show I got to see. Then the second show on my list, there were other acts I really wanted to see, but just can't soul split. I really wish I got to see Beth Gibbons, who was a singer from Portishead. She just put out her own solo album, which is a powerful experience, and I definitely haven't fully immersed myself in it yet. I'm gonna need another listen or two or three for that matter. It's not a very long album, but it's really dense one. Yeah, this is an onion that I'm gonna need to like peel back the layers. But in any case, Beth Gibbons was playing. I wish I got to see her, but I really wanted to see Vampire Weekend because I've been a big fan for a long time, and their latest album I think is not only one of their best albums, but also probably one of the best albums of the year thus far. And they were just at peak form. The sound quality is amazing. The singing was great. The visual spectacle of it all was fantastic. And they're just playing bangers after bangers after bangers, except for one moment where they just went on this, I don't know what even to call this, like experimental jam session, which was so unlike anything I've heard Vampire Weekend do. That was a trip. The whole time I was wondering, like, where are we going with this? Not in a bad way though. It was just a surprise. But yeah, they just absolutely killed it. Literally no skips. And then to finish off the morning at this point, I ended up leaving this place around like 2 a.m. In any case, Deftones, they were playing. Literally one of my favorite bands ever. Super consistent discography. They maybe have like one or two albums that are not as great, but for the rest of the records, they're all super solid, so a very high battering average. In any case, it's a band that I've been with for a long time, so I recognize all the songs they were playing. They sounded great. The energy was amazing. The crowd was great. And once again, kind of like Vampire Weekend, no skips, just hit after hit after hit after hit. It was fucking killer. So much so that next day, even though I had 4 vinyls I decided to pick up, Around the Fur. I was debating between Around the Fur and White Pony. Arguably their 2 best albums, but I decided to go for Around the Fur because, it's the summertime. It's my summertime vibes. And indeed, they finished the show with My Own Summer Shove It, which was just an epic finisher. But yeah, what a night. And as I was leaving, like at this point, like I mentioned, it was like 2 a.m. I did watch Justice playing for a little bit. I'm I'm not as much into the electronic music scene. I, of course, heard so much about them from so many people. So it was cool at the very least to see them, but I thought, you know what, at this point I should, well, one, my batteries are getting low on my phone, so I should probably get out of here so I can actually get back to the hotel in one piece. And I also had like one final day in Barcelona, so like let's not just scrap that day completely. But yeah, day 5 was epic. And for day 6, it was a bit of a chiller day. I still wandered about, went to a really nice restaurant for a bit of a late lunch, which is a perfect way to start the day. Honestly, probably my favorite restaurant I've been throughout the entire trip. Not that the other restaurants were bad, of course. The paellas at each and every one of the restaurants and all the tapas were fantastic. But in any case, I slept in that day, took it easy a little bit because I also decided, you know what? I can't go for the 3rd day in Primavera, which kind of breaks my heart because there's PJ Harvey, Mitski, Charlie XCX. I really, really wanted to see Model Actress. Their Dog's Body album was just fucking wild, but just such an earworm. Oh! Anyways, don't get too excited, Mike. But I decided to, you know what? Can't go for the 3rd day, but I will go for day 2. I'm on vacation, might as well just splurge even more. Fuck it, you only live once, right? So after taking it easy, going to the beach one more time, eating some good food, and just, you know, recuperating a little bit from the last night because it was a lot. Primavera day 2, and as if the first Primavera day wasn't epic enough, this one is just legendary status for me. So I started the evening with the last dinner party. They absolutely tore up the fucking stage. Their energy was infectious. They had just so much charisma. Their music was just on fire. I really love their album Prelude to Ecstasy. Honestly, probably one of my favorite records thus far in 2024. And they probably did put out the single hottest pop song of the year, which is Nothing Matters. You can fight me on that one if you disagree. And of course, they did play the song. They actually finished their show with that song. Of course they did.
And you can hold me, I feel love, and I will fuck you like nothing matters.
Probably the most emotionally charged show of the entire trip. Yeah, that was a vibe. But the second they finished, I literally just like fucking ran out of there to go to another show that I really wanted to see, but they were ever so slightly overlapping. So I went to the boiler room of the Primavera Sound, the festival area, and guess who was playing there? Armin fucking Hammer. Easily my favorite underground rap artist working today. This duo, Billy Woods and Elucid, are just incredibly talented. Their wordplay is just on a level that I rarely, if ever, see in other rap artists.
Fortification for another way of space that don't serve. A sacred purge, extracted urge. Smack through the song, couldn't sing the words.
Truly, like either the solo albums from Billy Woods or the numerous albums from Arm & Hammer that have come out are some of my favorite records in rap in the last like 10 plus years. Complex, mind-bending shit, but just fucking awesome. And as always, they just killed the show, and this is the biggest surprise of the night. That was super cool. And they kind of like hinted at like, hey, like we're kind of doing this like unexpected show like later at night. I didn't really understand exactly what it was. I just kind of came in out of the blue over there for the last few songs that they were playing. But after they finished their set, I got to meet them for a moment. Billy Woods is also walking around with this box of these vinyls. I was like, can I have one? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I got a copy of this Japanese pressing of Maps over here. The album cover looks nothing like the album cover I normally recognize it as. Like, that was such a nice surprise. Also managed to get a signature from Billy Woods on this thing, which, you know, like, is just a bonus. Like, just seeing them and also just getting this really cool vinyl, as far as I'm concerned, is the signature itself. But you know what? I'll take that extra bonus. But it doesn't end there. After having this little moment with Billy Woods here, I also had a little moment with Elucid, and I kind of asked, like, so what is this show, like, this extra show you guys are talking about? And so literally showed me his phone. I took a screenshot of his fucking phone, saying that, like, yeah, at 1:30 a.m. at this spot over there. It's unscheduled, but we'll do a little show over there. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I guess I'll see you guys again later tonight. So more on that later. But before leaving the boiler room, they kind of insisted the crowd that was there to just stick around for the next guys playing because they're crazy, as they mentioned it. But fuck yeah, they were crazy. There was a wild show. Another duo rapper group, they go by the name of They Hate Change. I don't know if the other people in the crowd knew of these guys. I certainly did not, but we were all vibing to them super hard. So that was another nice surprise and a discovery. So not only did I get to see Arm & Hammer, get some loot, and also get a secret info on a secret show that they're playing later tonight, but also got to discover a new artistic force. So A+ on that. Then I had a few shows lined up later on. I refueled on some falafel. That was pretty much like my go-to food at Primavera Sound, just feasting on falafels. I must have had 4 of these giant falafels. In any case, as I was eating this falafel, I was just wandering about and I stumbled across a Faye Webster set, which was a nice surprise. I really did like her music in the past, so it was a really nice surprise that I just didn't expect. Like, oh, I'd be seeing you too here. I caught the tail end of her set, so unfortunately I didn't get to see too much of her, but what I did get to see was quite lovely. She really is an interesting talent that I recommend you guys to check out. If you're interested in indie rock, folk rock, delicate female singer-songwriter, she's truly quite lovely. But before that secret Arm & Hammer show, which is like 1:30 a.m., there are 2 other shows that I thought, you know what, while I'm there, I want to check out. Well, one band I'm already a huge fan of, seen them already in the past, but you know what? Lana Del Rey was there, so I thought, it's not my cup of tea, but fuck it, why not? When in Rome, right? And boy, oh boy, does she draw a gigantic crowd. So it was cool to see her. I wasn't familiar with like almost all of her songs. I really did like her last Ocean Boulevard album, which I thought was really strong and one of my favorites from last year, actually. But otherwise, I'm not super familiar with her music, but I did really get a kick out of watching these grown-ass men just bawling their eyes out to Lana, like, and like you just see their faces in huge on the screen every now and then. It was priceless, and personally, maybe like her performance is a little sleep-inducing. She's so stoic and regal and just doesn't really move all that much. Sometimes she's literally sitting, not taking a shot at her. Like she has a very powerful and once again regal presence.
In the flash moves of your pretty cameras, pretty cameras.
But for my sleep-deprived ass, like going on, I don't know how many Rebels at this point, with still 2 more shows to go late at night, it was a little trying in that sense. But in any case, after Lana Del Rey, literally right next to that stage, there was the National playing. They absolutely smashed it, as they always do. They throw a great live show. It's not my first time that I see them. If you are a fan of the National and you haven't seen them live, go check them out live. They just bring so much energy to the stage. So that was a blast, as always. Not really a surprise there. But off I go to that unexpected show that Arm & Hammer are throwing. And just like the little cylinder venue itself from the outside, like, you know that, okay, shit's going down here. And the coolest part about this show, well, apart from the fact that it was totally unscheduled and came as a surprise, there was no barriere, no nothing like protecting the artists. We literally just like surround them like Fight Club style, and they just wrapped in the middle of us on this fucking carpet. It was so goddamn cool to see them again, and as always, their talent is just awe-inspiring.
The oldies, plus get cold check. I'ma go ahead and get sweaty. They playing the oldies uptown. Yo. Run it back, run that back.
And I got to see Billy Woods and Elucid for a brief moment once again at the end of the show, which is where I actually got the signature from Billy Wood. And I ended up helping this dude and getting a signature on his vinyl too, because Billy Woods didn't have a pen or anything. So the poor fan was like, oh no, that's too bad. But like I said, I do my daily drawings, so I had a pen. I was like, hey, I got you, bro. So he was like, yeah, it was a cool moment for all of us. They threw an amazing show. I had an amazing time, and at this point, it was like, well, my plane is leaving in like a couple hours, so I should probably get back to the hotel, start packing. I literally got like an hour and a half sleep between that moment and me getting onto the plane back to Montreal. But yeah, I had the time of my life for all the reasons in the world, for the beautiful weather, the great food, the architecture, the history, the art, the good energy of the people, just throwing myself out into the world, experiencing new things, and of course all the music, the vinyls that I get to bring home, the books as well, all the memories, the fucking bands I got to saw, even if some of them I've already seen in the past, just seeing them once again in this context, totally unplanned for. All of it was just amazing. Barcelona was, I'm kind of speechless. Me saying that after talking for like an hour on this video. I'll try to edit this video down as much as possible so that it's not too overwhelming for you guys. And there you go. I think I'll call it a night. It is actually also my birthday today. I had a great time today with my sister. She took me to Cirque du Soleil. I don't think I've ever been. I have a vague memory of my childhood being at some circus. Might not have been Cirque du Soleil. In any case, that was a lot of fun. Once again, totally unexpected. I didn't plan for any of this. But yeah, life has been interesting lately. So with all that being said, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye now.